All right, so I'm Khalil. I'm the founder and CEO of Hykso.
How does it help?
So basically, if you're a runner, you have like apps like Strava or Nike Running to know how fast you're actually running and how far you're actually running. Which actually is something that is still kind of recent. So it didn't happen, only happened in the last like 7 to 8 years that these apps actually came out. Now you have the same if you're lifting weights, because you actually know exactly what you're lifting, so you can measure. But in boxing, everything for like years and years and decades have always been very subjective, and it's really to the eyes of the coach. But we get to a point that subjective feedback is not accepted anymore, because we try to push the boundaries of what we're capable of. And this is where technology actually comes in, because if you're an athlete, but you don't know, for example, how much work rate you're actually putting out there during your training, it's very hard to optimize that training. So, by starting to measure, you can actually see, for example, if I'm a pro athlete, they all have different needs, obviously. But let's say I'm a pro athlete, I want to make sure I peak at the right time before a fight. So what the athletes will go through is actually multiple cycles of peaking and recovery and peaking and recovery. But these cycles are very hard to measure without any type of measurement. And they measure all of these in all the different sports. But there's just technology wasn't there for boxing, which is a very fast-paced sport where there's a lot of movement, and that's basically where we come in. So you put these on, and then you're really able to see where you're actually peaking, where you get into a recovery cycle, and you can make sure that you're not overtrained and actually reaching a new peak, right? So then you can time your fight with your peak perfectly. We saw that we had like more traction with the Olympic team and the national coaches. So we started working with them for like a year, and the only thing that we did is work on the algorithms to make it to basically meet their expectation of what the product, in terms of accuracy. And then from there, we got introduced to broadcasters, and that's where kind of like the business aspect of it really started taking off. Because at first, honestly, like I didn't evaluate the market of this. I was just like, hey, there's boxers, and boxers have probably the same problem as I do, therefore a product. Like I didn't think, further than that. But when we got traction with the broadcasters, and the idea was to put this during live fights and create an additional layer of stats that you could either, put directly for the fans, but also sell to the betting community who would crush, all the data possible to gain an edge on the market. So that brought us to talk with Showtime. We talked with the UFC as well, and NBC, and they were all actually they were all very aware of that need, because stats in these sports are very they're very limited, and they're all made by humans, which is actually most stats in sports are actually calculated by humans. So it's people pressing buttons. But in a sport like boxing and MMA, things move so fast that there's, the accuracy isn't super great, and the level of data is pretty limited as well. That was, we had all this traction, and that's really the project that we came with Y Combinator. So when we applied, we already had like initial discussions with Showtime. They even helped us with, hooking us up with a contact at the athletic commissions. To be accepted and being sanctioned to be able to be used. And when we got in, so they liked that a lot, and they also liked the fact that we had all this prototype built in with about 45K of funding, which was amazing to them. Because most companies will get in there, and a lot of them would have already like a seed round raised, maybe not a seed round, but an angel round. A few $100,000s raised. We did all of that with like 45K, so they liked that aspect of it. And then they accepted us and told us, okay, the broadcast market is awful, just don't do that, because you're going to run out of money before these companies actually give you the first check. So they said, you should try to actually just see if there's actual demand in the consumer market for this, because that's how you're probably going to get revenues the fastest you can. So we launched a pre-order campaign in March of last year, and we sold 3,000 units in about 4 months. So that was about 400K in revenues. So that really proved us that, okay, we can start pushing this product to market. And to basically come back on the question of how did we actually get all these people to buy, it's really online digital marketing, and driving the eyes from social media to push the people to our website and convert them there was the recipe. And then but actually a little bit different than a lot of other people that we know, which actually go more into the email marketing side. So they just accumulate a list of 40,000 people, and then they launch their official campaign on Kickstarter. So that's another model, but we didn't go there because honestly, most fighters don't even know about Kickstarter. So